Here's the thing. A lot of times I will sit down to draw a cartoon, but really not have a fully formed idea. What do I do? Well, that's what I have today. I have a vague idea floating in my head, and I'm going to try and take that vague idea into a fully drawn cartoon. Now, it could go right, may not be funny, but I'm here once again drawing. And this is my 30 days to learn how to talk and draw on video camera. So whether I succeed or not, I'm being successful because I'm moving further towards my goal of being comfortable in speaking on the camera and drawing. So I have once again, a blank canvas here. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm still sticking with my Benny Blue Note character for now. And I think at some point I'm going to expand on that and start doing some other things. I have some other ideas for drawing cartoons. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in and add my panel. And I have that. And now I need to come up with the sketch. Now the sketch is kind of difficult again because I have only a vague idea. My vague idea for today is there's a kind of a joke of you've probably heard it. A rock musician plays 3 chords to 1,000 fans, and a jazz player plays 1,000 notes to 3 fans. And I was kind of had that idea floating around in my head, and I came up with this idea of Benny sitting and just playing one note. And then I was thinking about Google Translate, and what if Google Translate translated that one note into jazz, and then out comes all these thousands of notes. So that's my vague idea. I'm not sure how I'm going to visualize it yet, but I'm starting from that point. So I need Benny, obviously. I'm going to work this out live here. Sitting and playing. And I think I'm going to have him sitting because he's not really out doing anything or playing live or anything. This is kind of him sitting at home and practicing. So I'll start out with drawing Benny here. But notice how I'm not hesitating to get to start drawing. And this is why I really, really like this idea of engineered creativity, where I have standardized processes, and this helps because I come more from a technical background of programming and data science and automation. And that's what I've tried to do with my cartooning is having a process that I can sit down and dependably at least get started. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, I don't hesitate to get started. And so I start out with the main character here, Benny. And I draw him. He's going to be playing the guitar, so I know I need a guitar in here. And he's sitting down. I think I'm going to stick with that. It may change at some point, but for now, let's have him sitting down here. And then the idea is to have the phone translating for him. So somewhere I need to have this phone, and then out comes the millions of notes. And I need to also make sure that it has a visible translate on it so that people know what's happening. So maybe instead of a phone, I'll have a computer here because it's going to be larger and gives me a larger screen to write translate to jazz. And notice I'm already running out of room, so this is going to need to change. And my problem here is I started by drawing the computer first, and then I'm trying to fit the words in. And I need to write the words out first, and then build the screen around it. So I'll write translate to, what if we made this like an app? It looks like an app here. Translate to jazz. I think I'm liking that a little bit better. I have to give myself some room here. And I'm having a problem here because it's overlapping the guitar and the computer, so I need to move this somewhere where it's not overlapping. I'll move it down here a little bit and put it on a table. Like that. And then out of the speaker, I'm going to have it. I am thinking Looney Tunes, and it starts out smaller and then it gets wider and wider until it goes out like that. So I'm liking this idea. There's a lot of details to be filled in here, but I do like the basic idea here. And now that I have that idea and the rough sketch, I'm going to go through and see where there's potentially some problems I need to overcome. One I am seeing here is, I think that chair is okay like that. And the hat, fill in a little bit more of Benny here. Like that. And then I really like to express emotion in my characters when I'm drawing them. And this, I think this comes from watching and growing up with Looney Tunes, and especially with Tex Avery. If you ever have seen the wolf and the dog, I can't remember his name right now, but he's the dog that always says, "I'm happy." And the wolf is super expressive, and the dog is not expressive at all. So I kind of always like that really exaggerated expression. So the question here is, what kind of expression is he going to be having? He wants it to be translating to jazz, and it's coming up. So he's going to be watching it and be really happy. So that's the expression I'm going to go with. It's success. It's an expression of success. And maybe a little bit of surprise. So I got the happiness with a big smile, and it's a big open smile, and then a little bit of surprise with the raised eyebrows. I'm pretty happy with how this is right now. And it's a little rough. It's probably a little rougher than I would like to work with. But I'm going to move on into inking it from this point. And the reason I can do this is I've drawn this character and practiced lots of different emotions and lots of different poses and expressions. And so I'm feeling pretty comfortable, even though it's pretty rough right now, that I can take this to a finished drawing. I'm going to start with kind of, if you think about a person, layers working from the closest to the viewer inside. And the closest thing to the viewer right now is the hand playing and the hand fretting the guitar. The next is going to be the guitar, and then it's going to be the body of the character behind. I said that and then immediately started drawing his face. See, it's such a habit at this point. I didn't even stop or hesitate to start that way, but I do know I need to get this hand in pretty early on. So I'm going to do that next. And this grin is so big. It's overlapping his shirt a little bit, and that's fine. It's a cartoon. It doesn't need to be realistic or perfect. It's a cartoon, and I always look at cartoons as ways of expressing what's going on in me and ideas up in here. And that's why I tend not to do anything like realistic, because for me it's an external representation and expression of what's inside. It's probably from watching way too much Bob Ross growing up. Happy little trees. Now, the one problem I haven't figured out how to overcome yet is showing that Benny's not playing all these notes. He's just playing something really simple or basic, and it's translating it into all these notes. So I'm aware I need to think of how I'm going to represent that here on the page. Fill in some strings here. I can draw a complete guitar if I wanted to, but I just tend to keep it really simple and basic so that it doesn't take away from the overall expression of the cartoon. So we got the guitar here. I'm going to work on this arm here because it's pretty close to the viewer. Then his suit here is coming over his leg. I'm going to probably be doing more erasing than normal because I am starting from a much more rough sketch on this one. Okay, so I have him blocked in. I'm seeing right here there's a that doesn't look right. So erasing through here. And instead of starting from the top and then drawing down, I know that this jacket's going to be a little bit further back on the leg here. So I'm going to start here and then match it up to where it should be here and build the head shape off of that. If I was teaching a student, I would be wanting them to build a more complete sketch and work out some of these issues in advance. But once you've learned how to do this, I think it's okay to be more expressive and work from a rougher sketch. Now I'm filling his hair. Like that. And his hat. Like that. And I'll tackle this chair early on here. Kind of giving him a modern chair here with simple legs. Like that. Now let's see how it looks here. And I see I need to work on the arm here. Clean it up in this area. See how that looks. I'm going to put a little bit more hair marks in here just for visual interest. I like my inks to be able to stand alone without the color, and then the color just to add to it. But if I ever wanted to just have a black and white ink, I want my cartoons to look just as fine with just that. Fancy up his shoes here. The best thing I read was in How to Draw Stupid by Kyle Baker, where he said, it's just a cartoon. And I want to write in that, before I get too far ahead, write this in so I make sure that screen's going to work. For my lettering, I choose just a single width, whereas for my inking, I like the variable size lines and use a representation of a G pen. It's the same pen that manga artists use in Japan, and I found a digital version of that I really like. And then add in the keyboard. And I want the legs to match the chair, so they're going to be modern too. And I don't want to have to go through and do a lot of detail to this table, so I'm just going to make it pretty basic like that. And now that I have that part, I still need to work on two things. One is all the notes coming out from jazz, but then I need to figure out a way to represent visually just one or two or three notes going into this. But one problem at a time. I think I'm going to work on the jazz notes next because they're already pretty set. And then this is going to be a staff, so I need to put 5 lines. I'm breaking this up in case, number one, in case I make a mistake, I don't have to go all the way over and start from the very beginning. I can just start where on the line that I messed up. But also, to me, it adds a lot of visual interest instead of just a single line. And I'm not going to make 5 all the way down. You notice I kind of left part of it just at 4, but it's not important. It's capturing the general overview of what I'm wanting to show. Now I'm going to get rid of this background drawing, and I'm going to add in these notes. And I'm going to switch over to this because it'll just be easier to add in notes. And I want this to look like 1,000 notes coming through here. I do need to go in. I didn't think about doing this, but break this up into measures here. Like that. And now I can go in and add a lot of notes here. Because it's jazz and I'm representing 1,000 notes, there's probably going to be quite a lot of them here. There's quarter notes, but I want this to be a lot more notes. Not going to be perfect. It's really just capturing the idea. It's kind of grunt work, but it's what's going to make it stand out, I think. I'm not liking that because it's on that corner. I'll simplify that and just put, as it transitions here, a 3-beat note. Then I'll transition it back over to the staves up. That. Make some really extreme jumps. That. And we're getting ready to have another transition here. I'll probably just do a whole note like that. No, it doesn't fit into. I don't want a whole note because it's not what I'm trying to represent here. I'll do something simple like that. Arpeggio. Just single, same notes here. We're getting ready to transition again around here, so I need to keep that in mind. Do a few whole notes like that. Keep the staves, the thing, what are they called? The lines that go up. I can't think of them right now. This looks about right to me whenever I try and read a jazz chart, all the notes. I like jazz, but it is difficult for me to play. And then kind of going down in and coming out of the speaker of the computer. That. And now then the last thing I need to add is some way of just showing this going into the computer. And I think the best way I'm going to do that is I'm going to try this and see how it looks. One measure going in like that, and I'm going to draw a whole note here. Oh, that's not very clear. Let me start over. I think I'm going to block the drawing right now, I think. But it's coming in from the guitar. My lines are a little shaky there. Try it again. I don't like that. What if I did just a whole note or half notes coming out of the guitar? And floating over into the computer like that. I think I like that a lot better. Then work on this computer just a little bit. Put in the screen. Add some screen reflection there. And I think I like that. You see if there's anything that's just way off. These legs, I think, need to be a little bit longer. And I think that's good. Oh, I need to add in his brim here for the hat. Well, this collar's a little messed up here. Let me work on this. I'm just grateful. Back in the old days, they'd have to use a lot of whiteout to go back and fix some of these things. Digital makes that part so much easier. And there we go. I think that is good. And I can now move on to coloring here. And if you watch my other videos, you know I do the same thing. Engineered creativity, always start with the same thing, so it's just a habit. And I don't hesitate to do anything. It's a little wide. I'm going to shrink it a little bit. Go and do the flesh colors of the head and hands. Then I do the browns of the hair and shoes. And I like this hair to blend in a little bit. I'm just going to hit it with that blur tool. And I need to do the shoes here. Now I will move on. His guitar's going to sit in front of the suit, so I'm going to go ahead and do the suit, and then I'll do the guitar on top of that. Once I learned how to work with layers a lot better, it made a lot of this process so much faster and easier. Because I can just go in and like go behind the head and not need to be perfect about it. And by doing that, I can do a lot of this feel like that and speed up the whole process. Now then I need to do this guitar. Here I made another layer. And because the guitar is sitting on top of the suit, I'm going to need to erase around so that the suit shines through. But anytime I can do that quick feel, it speeds up this whole process. So I'd rather feel and erase than try and be perfect for a lot of these things. Then I need to do the fretboard. I'll make this lighter color for this guitar. And the headstock, same colors. Like that. By using this color also, I'm going to do some shading on his head, and it blends the whole character all together by using very similar colors that are repeated. So now that I have the guitar, I want to go back in here and add in the cuffs on his suit, like that. And I also need to add in his shirt, which is white and starched. And then his tie there. And so now I've got the character colored in. I'm working forward to backward. On the back is this chair. And then the question is, what color will I make the chair? I think I'm just going to make it a gray. Doesn't have any color to it or anything that really attracts a lot of attention. I just want it sitting there on the background. And now then I'm going to switch over to the computer. Computers tend to be black and gray. But this is a special computer doing this translation. I'm going to add a little bit of color to it and then make the table just gray. So I'm going to use kind of this more neutral reddish brown color for the computer just so it sticks out a little bit and becomes a main character in the cartoon. Like that. Then do the table behind it using the same gray as the chair so that they're all blending in together. The furniture in the room. Like that. And then on this computer, I want that screen to be light. So I'm going to give it a really light gray color here so that those words will really stand out. I may do something more with that in a little bit just to make it stand out a little bit more. And now I've got the basics. I want these notes, in case I put a background on it, I want them to stay out, so I'm going to fill those in. I don't like to rely on the white of the background to show through because I found that sometimes it won't work if I add a background or if I do it as a ping, export it to a ping and use it in something. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to make all these the alpha lock so that as I'm shading, it's only shading the parts of the screen that I have colored. And it makes the shading go a lot faster and easier. And I'm always at this point use this acrylic brush for my shading. So the first thing I want to do is shade the hair and the shoes. So I'm going to add a little bit of shade and darken it up. I'm also going to add in this kind of orange red color because I use that a lot to just blend everything together. And I add it to all the pieces in the cartoon, and that's kind of the color that joins everything into one cohesive cartoon. Now I'll move on to his head. And shade it using that orange color, like that. I went a little bit further than I wanted to, so I'm going to come in here instead of trying to erase or blend. I'll just use that same color. And then add touch to the hands here. And then I'm going to add the pink of his cheeks here. The brush is a little bit big for that, so I'm going to reduce the brush size. Just adds a little color to his face, so it's not just a solid color. Now move on to the guitar. still using the acrylic, and then neck coming through here. And I want to add just little touches there. And then for the headstock, I want to darken it up a little with this darker red color like that before I hit it with a shade like that. I don't want to totally rely on that blue shade because it kind of discolors the guitar. Then, on the wrong layer, I'm going to move in and add some color to this guitar. Darken it up a little, and then also I'll highlight it up just a tad to make it look shiny. And then I'm going to go in and add in some shadows here. Like that. Now I'll move on to his shirt, and I'm not going to shade it, just a little bit around the corner there. And then move on to his suit and hat. It's kind of a bigger space, so I'm going to enlarge that brush a little bit. And see how having that alpha lock, I can actually shade outside, and it's just catching the edge of his clothes there. And then just for a little bit more interest, I have this bright blue that I add. For where the light's hitting. Like that. And now then I've got Benny all colored in. I'm going to work on the chair next and shade it in. I'm not going to do much to it. I am going to give it just a tad of that orange, reddish orange, and a tad of that blue just to kind of blend it all together. And I can work on this computer next. And with the computer, I don't want to do much. I just want to add a little bit of highlight to the screen here. And then for the rest of the computer, I'm going to add in some shading like that. And I also want to add in some highlights here. And the question is, what kind of highlights? I do want to add just a touch of that orange and a touch of blue, so it all blends together. And then make that keyboard just a little bit lighter here. Don't want to do too much to it. Like that. The table I need to shade a little bit. Not much, because it's really in the light. And the last thing I need to do is put shading underneath everything in the cartoon. And the reason I do this is it kind of joins it all, so it's not two separate objects, but it's two objects that are joined by this base. And then I'll darken underneath these two objects like that. And now then, I haven't done his eyes yet, so I'll do those. And the cartoon, it can be done at this point, or I can go in on the background layer, change it. When I think of jazz, I think blue, so I want to add in, I think I'm going to do kind of a darker blue on this one, like that, to make it look like more like smooth jazz or something like that. Something cool. It also makes some of these things pop out more than if it's just white. And with that, the cartoon is done. I'll be publishing this, and if you've been watching this, thank you. I appreciate it, and I will see you later.